So in this part of the course, we're going to talk about how we can basically import stuff into our content browser and basically into our project. So there is three main ways in Unreal 5 that you can import stuff. One is the traditional way where you have your own custom assets. So it can be a texture, it can be a model, and you can click import, then find your asset. Right now I have a few of them here. Click open, and I imported my texture that I can use basically for creating material or something like that. And you can see below each asset this line, which basically kind of tells you quickly what type of asset it is. So orange always means it's a level, red means it's a texture, and light blue is basically for a static mesh. So let's delete this. You can also click right click and import, so you can do that too. Also another way would be to just pull from your folder and then put it into this content browser. So let's do it this way right now. And I have this FBX. Let's click open. And now we get a few things in here. So since the skeletal mesh, it is basically asking me if I want to create a skeleton, if I want to import the actual mesh. And here it's asking me if I want to use some skeleton that I already have. But for this cat, I don't have any specific skeleton. Below that, we have some animations. If our cat has some animations, we can import that. We have some transforms. If the cat is maybe too small, too big, maybe we can just import it at right scale. Some conversions, and then below we have the materials. In here we can just create new materials, or if we already have some materials, we can try to pull from them automatically. And here you also have enabled import textures. Now let's click import and see what happens. So I got few assets in here. So for our skeleton, we got cat skeleton, we have our shader, we have our physics asset. This is all used for kind of collision with your character. Then we have this cat skeletal mesh, which you can see it's kind of purplish color, indicating that this is a skeletal mesh. So if you open it, you can see that we got our asset. And at the top we have our skeleton, so you can see the skeleton of the cat. And we also have our physics asset that kind of defines kind of little areas that can be collided with the actual cat. And now that we have this asset imported, we can just easily put it in our scene, and as you can see, we have the asset imported successfully. So let's delete this, and let's delete the cat. So this is the first way to kind of import stuff in Unreal Engine. The other way would be to use Quixel Bridge. So this is kind of a handy tool that Epic provides you with, which is basically a library of a bunch of assets that you can use in your project. So in here we have a few things. First, we have a home with some tabs of different types of assets that you can import. So you can import 3D assets, you can import materials like surfaces, textures. After that, we have things like metahumans. So if you're familiar with metahumans, it's basically an Epic system to create kind of photorealistic or high quality characters. But right now we're going to go to 3D assets, and I'm going to go to street, and I already downloaded one of the assets, so we don't have to wait for it to download. But if you have it, you can see you get this icon indicating that it is not downloaded and that you need to download it to import it in your scene. And if I click, we can see some details about it. And this is the most important one. So which quality you want to basically import this asset. Nanite is basically some new technology in Unreal 5 that lets you, it kind of automatizes load system for objects, basically meaning that it will take a high quality asset and maybe break it down and make it lower quality, but the difference won't be visible to you. So it kind of solves for that. So after you choose the quality, you need to click download, and after that you can add it to your project. So if I click on my object that is already downloaded, we can just add it to our project. If you click add, or we can just take it and pull it in my scene. It might take a second to basically import it into my project. But after that, it will import it in our scene, and we're gonna see the object in the content browser. So we're just gonna wait a second for it to finish. So now that import has finished, we can see that I have my object in the scene. I'm gonna click left click, and let's X out of the QuickSet bridge. And now, as you can see, our object is in a scene with high quality materials. And if I click in the details panel, this little button, it will lead me to the actual material, and it is located in content, megascans. Let's find it, megascans. Then we have 3D assets. Let's see the actual location, 3D assets, and then Rusty bulkhead. So since we have already a project with a bunch of megascans asset, this is a bit harder to find. But basically here is the location. You have few basic things that you can basically use in your scene. So that's the second way to basically import assets. Let me delete this. Now the third way is basically to go to the marketplace and then try to find some asset and try to add it to your project. So I'm going to click this, and my Epic Games opens, and we have this marketplace window. Now in Unreal 5, since we are trying to import some assets from other creators, some assets won't be updated for Unreal 5, and there is some other ways to kind of put it inside your project. I'm going to go briefly through it and then show you how you can import an asset that is already ready for Unreal 5, how you can import it into your project. First, if the asset is not ready for Unreal 5 or is not converted, you'll have to download it and then create an empty project for the version that it is created in. So that would be easy enough. If you go into your engine versions, you can click on plus here, select the version that it is compatible with. It will usually be for 4.26 or 4.27. After that, you can launch the engine version that is needed, and then create your empty project. After that, you're just gonna add your asset into that project, and then after that, you can right click on the folder of the whole asset and just click migrate, and then select the content folder of your scene where you wanted to import it in. And that should work fine for most assets. Some assets might not be able to be converted, but most assets should be from the older version to the new one. Now, if the asset is already ready, so if I click on marketplace, let's say you just want to search generally for some assets. I'm going to click on free assets. We can go to supported engine versions, click on 5. And then in here, you're going to see all of the free and Unreal Engine 5 compatible assets. And in this way, you can just click add to cart and add it to your project. But I'm going to type adventure character, and I already have this asset and it's ready for Unreal 5. So if you click on any asset, you can see for which version you can use it on. So everything between 4.18 to 4.27, you can import it in, and then also it is added for 5. So let's click add to project, and now our project is named city sample. And let's click add to project. After you do this, we are just gonna wait a bit for the asset to be downloaded. But after it is downloaded, we're gonna have a folder in content browser, in the content folder, that is basically named like this spec, and then we can use it. Now that it is completed, we should be able to find it in our project. And the location for this asset is called man. So I'm gonna double click in here. We're gonna click on mesh, and then we have full characters. And as you can see, we successfully imported some characters. Now if I try to double click on one of the characters, it should take a second and compile the character. But we can see that we basically have the full character with all the materials and all the textures working. and this you can put in your scene and basically use it however you want. After that, the one thing that you have to pay attention to is when you download assets, that they stay locally downloaded, and sometimes you want to remove the local files for the character, and this is separate from your project. So if you look here, we have this add to project, and we have this arrow that is now not gray. So if I click it, it says remove local content. So every time you download the asset, it is downloaded locally, and then you have an option to add it to the project. So right now I have kind of two versions of this, one local content and then one in my actual project. So after you download an asset and you don't want to have it local anymore, you can click on the arrow, remove local content, and now I'll have to download it again if I want to add it to any of my other projects.